Hello there and welcome to the BSR Sports Podcast from the fans, for the fans. My name is Blair McNally.
I'm Conor Elliott.
And I'm McFarlane.
And today we are going to be bringing you another episode of the World Sports Podcast. I'm excited, boys, are you?
Yep, buzzing to be here.
Yep. Very, very interesting topic to start on. Conor McGregor v Poirier being announced. Round 3 they're going to go for. Very interesting to say the least that Poirier didn't choose to go for a title shot after dismantling McGregor in the last fight, to say the least. The question I'd like to pose, it's been very problematic on the field of Twitter this week. A lot of debate. Is Conor McGregor a liar? Because he did say that he was going to be, his whole press conference routine was talking about how he was going to donate this money to Poirier. £500,000 it was. He was going to donate it. It was in the good of his heart. He was a different person. He was a new person. And Poirier's come out this week and said that the £500,000 that McGregor said he would donate is still not being received. And that started a debate. So what are your thoughts on it, guys?
I'll let you go first, Conor.
I don't know, because I seen obviously a few tweets that you're talking about, but then I also seen McGregor responding to the thing. And I don't think we can all agree that McGregor has 500k to donate. Let's be honest, the guy's loaded, right? So I don't think it's a money problem. But he tweeted out that it was where it was going to go that was a problem. So his team obviously didn't know where the 500k is going. Is it just going straight to Poirier, or is it going to actually something good? So I think that's what he tweeted out. But again, if you're going to promise somebody something, you need to obviously live up to that promise. So it's not a good look for McGregor. But also, he did tweet out that the fight's not happening. Did you see that?
Yeah.
He said, "I'm not fighting him anymore," because he called him out. So I don't know what's happening in that fight. But yeah, it was interesting. But I guess if you're Conor McGregor, you don't want to be giving out money if you don't know where it's going. But if you're going to promise it, you need to at least live up to it.
Yeah, there was a lot of anger and frustration between both camps in the tweets, but wasn't there? Look.
Yeah, they're both really going at it, and I found it quite funny. I think Poirier, in the end, they basically just responded with like a gif of him knocking McGregor out, and then McGregor did exactly the same, just posting a picture of him knocking Poirier out in the first fight. But like I hear exactly what Conor's saying. I think it's more complicated than others might sort of lead you to believe. I think I get where Conor McGregor's coming from, at least with what he said. He said that, you know, he basically asked, like, where's this money going? And he said that they didn't get back to him. But I think Poirier said the opposite. I think he said that his representatives emailed Conor sort of saying where the money was going, and then didn't hear anything from him. So it's hard to believe who's telling the truth there, like who's received an email and ignored it or failed to reply, right? But I think regardless, I think if you make a promise to donate money, you can't make a promise and then start going like that. Oh, by the way, like, sell it to me. Like, where's this going? You need to convince me. It's like, if you've said you're going to donate the money, you can't then be sort of like, I don't know if I want to. I might donate to someone else or not donate at all. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying like he's being stingy or something, because I've heard stuff about like him donating a lot of money to charities in the Republic of Ireland, and especially over the last 12 months with COVID. So I don't doubt that he's willing to do it, but it's just, I think it's just the fact you kind of, if you make a promise to do something, especially publicly, you need to follow through with it. And Conor mentioned there him saying that the fight's off. Like, I think that potentially tells us who's telling the truth. The fact that it seems like he's a bit embarrassed, and that's kind of the narrative that I was seeing with a lot of people talking about it in the media as well, is that everyone thinks that this is one of the first times he's really been embarrassed by someone, like, publicly and over Twitter, because usually, like, he's quite good at that whole sort of social media game and with his comebacks and all that. And with this, I think everyone's kind of looking at him like, mate, regardless of whether you asked or not, you promised to do something and you've gone back on your words. So, like, what does that mean about you as a person? But I hope the fight's not off. I don't know if he's, like, he can be very impulsive. Like, we know he's retired about 50 times on Twitter as well. So this hopefully doesn't actually mean anything, but because I want to see that third fight. But yeah, it's not a good look for him at all.
Yeah, we've seen he was very humble after the fight, before and after the fight. Conor McGregor, he was a new man, humble. He's a family man. We've seen all that. Do you think it could be a case of bad sportsmanship? A bad, maybe even a bad loser, where he's looked at this money and he's went, no, I'm changing my mind. No. Do you think it could be a case?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Like, maybe it's sitting on him that he's not enjoyed, because everyone was saying up to the last fight, like, he didn't enjoy this Mr. Nice Guy he was being. Like, maybe that affected his performance, like promising Dustin all this, shaking hands before the fight, like he didn't do the belly strut before the fight, like all this stuff that he was like not doing. It wasn't the old McGregor, so maybe he's just taking a new, I don't know, anger towards everyone in the UFC, maybe trying to motivate himself for a better performance. But I don't know, it just seems weird. Like, even if he hadn't, why couldn't yesterday just go and donate it? Like, I don't get it. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. He's
sorry.
Yeah. No, sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say, like, I get where people are coming from with the nice guy image, because we have seen that a lot with him. Like, he's not the same sort of trash talking person as he's been in the past, and a lot of people sort of say it's after that Khabib fight he just got humbled. But we've seen it with Donald Cerrone before when he won, and then Poirier now, that he has been like more polite than you'd expect. And maybe he's just matured, maybe he's just growing up and sort of he's more of an adult. He's got a son, sorry. And maybe it is just a case of him being more mature. But if you do want to go back to that sort of like bit more nasty guy before, more of a trash talk and stuff, that's absolutely fine. But you can't, like, it's taken it a bit too far to be like, I'm not paying any money to your charity. It's like, no, still do that, and if you want to go back to trash talking afterwards, that's absolutely fine.
See the whole point on, like, see it like him not being like being Mr. Nice Guy and stuff. Did you not think that's taken away from his performances as well? Yeah. Because like his whole thing at featherweight was getting in your head, and it would make people overextend. Like, and that was the whole thing with Aldo, if you remember that. Like, Aldo's performance was all because he was so angry, and he came into that fight and he overextended and he got caught like in 13 seconds. But that was just mental warfare. Like, he was so angry, he wanted to like cut McGregor so badly. Even Poirier the first time, like, if you remember that fight, the first fight was, but he said like, I've never hated an opponent so much in my life, and it was just like all this mental torture. So I don't know, maybe he's just trying to get that back because it was a part of his like game that helped him win big fights. So I don't know.
Yeah, when you think of McGregor, like he's like, it's not just his fighting, is it? It's like loads of different things that all contribute to like a big package with him, and one of those things is the trash talk and sort of that other side, like outside of the octagon or the ring, wherever he's fighting, that gets him so many fans and makes him so popular, because people find him hilarious, and people think some of the stuff that he says is really smart and original, which it is a lot of the time. So like, I would rather that Conor McGregor, like, maybe I'm just nostalgic, but I feel like that was the best Conor McGregor we got to see. But yeah, just repeating myself now, but it's just you need to pay his charity, definitely.
Yeah, we obviously seen he came out and he made the Instagram post. He's staying in the UAE at the moment, living up high in Dubai. But what we did see, he brought out he posted an Instagram post, said no more Mr. Nice Guy, posted it on Twitter as if to say he's changed everything around. So maybe it's not maybe, because we have seen the transition on social media where he's been given Poirier the stick. They've been going back and forth, but it's definitely a fight to look forward to, isn't it? Because I feel it's going to be a very similar fight to the first one. We talk about McGregor saying that the fight's off. That's just talk. Let's be honest here. The fight will go ahead. Poirier's not pulled out of a title fight for nothing. He's went for the fight for the money, because he knows that the pay-per-views are going to break the bank again. Hitting definitely over 10 million anyway. So Poirier will be raking it in, and it's definitely going to be an exciting fight. But we can't talk about the UFC forever, can we? There is other sports in the world, and a very, very interesting sport this week anyway. Steph Curry, what an absolute baller. He's ripping it apart in the NBA this year after being doubted for the last 2 seasons, isn't he? Conor, unbelievable performance the other night. 53 points. What a baller.
10 threes, like, he took way over. He's now the leading scorer in Golden State's history, so I think he could secure his place as like the greatest Golden State Warrior ever, and he's obviously the greatest shooter we've ever seen. He just changed the game. But yeah, Steph Curry, he's unreal, and it's obviously like people, there's been rumours that maybe he's going to go soon, maybe team up with LeBron. I've seen a few rumours about that and stuff like in the next few years. But will he stay in the Golden State Warriors? I'm not sure. But yeah, just unreal with this. I don't know what to expect of him anymore. He just shoots from everywhere. He's changed the game. Like in the 90s, like basketball was all about 2.0s, inside game, big men, but he's just completely changed it where just people are just shooting from everywhere. What used to be seen as a bad shot is now just a normal shot. Like people are shooting. You see Dame, Steph, players like that, Trae Young, they shoot from like half court. I know it's almost unguardable.
Trae Young's definitely one for it, isn't he? But talking about 3 points, where would you rank Steph Curry? People were talking about the greatest of all time 3-point shooters. He's got. Do you think so? Because
he's a goat. Yeah, definitely he's a goat.
Honestly, remarkable.
Yeah, he's definitely the greatest of all time. 3-point shooter. Like you think of other people like Ray Allen and stuff. They're obviously they were good 3-point shooters, but he's just changed the game. Like it's the distance he shoots from. It's not just his catch and shoot per se. It's like he introduced the whole shooting from half court and like that not being seen as a bad shot. As I said, like he's shooting from everywhere and he doesn't like. He's one of those shooters, like, even if he has a bad night, so one night he'll go 1 for 10 or something from 3. The next night he can come out and go like 10 for 12 from 3. Like, he's just one of those players. He just shoots from everywhere. He's just changed the game.
Do you know what I think is the difference in Steph Curry's game compared to other 3-point shooters? The fadeaway.
Yeah.
Do you not think his fadeaway is... He makes the best centres, he makes the best defenders just like absolutely rank rotten because he's so good at what he does. He just pulls it off immaculately every time, and you think people would study him and people would study the way he moves, his movement. You can't predict Steph, can you?
No, like that's what I was going to say. Like even like defenders are so scared of that 3-point shot that they're having to defend them so high. So it means they can go inside and lay the ball up as well easier than other point guards. Like if they just guard him so high so he can get inside. But yeah, he's unreal. As you said, the fadeaways, it's a trademark shot. So yeah, he's unreal.
Yep. Another team, obviously the Warriors are doing well at the moment. A team that had a brilliant, end to what I would call it the transfer window.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Americans call it, but I would call it a transfer window. Chicago Bulls, bringing in Vukovic, bringing in Daniel Theis from a remarkable team. Daniel Theis came for the Celtics, didn't he?
Yeah.
I'm getting mixed. I'm getting mixed up with. I don't know why I'm getting mixed up with the Bucks, but made an amazing transfer window. Kept Levine in as well. They've not turned up, have they at all? Not turned up. 3 wins, 7 losses in the last 10. It's simply not good enough for the Bulls, is it? Because everybody get their hopes up, thinking the Bulls are back, and 2 All-Stars in the team, and it just seems to be the same, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it's obviously going to take time from I'm not going to totally bomb them already, but it's obviously going to take time for them to get over this losing mentality that they've had for a while, and obviously it's going to take time for the players to gel because it's just like any team. Like when a player comes in, they're not instantly just going to do well. Like you need time to gel as a team and stuff. I always agree with you, but they have been pretty poor. So I don't know whether maybe you need to look at new coaching. I don't know, but as long as in my opinion, as long as they get into that 10th spot, into the play-in spot this year, and then focus on next year, and obviously they have a full off season and a full pre-season to gel as a team, and maybe go and make a proper playoff run. But this year they just need to aim for the 10th spot. But teams like the Pelicans and stuff have been doing better recently, so the Bulls need to pick it up because 2 All-Stars, as you said, and 2 good All-Stars. Zach LaVine's unreal, and Vucevic is such a well-rounded player. So yeah,
you say Zach LaVine's unreal. We've seen him picking up before, as I call it, the transfer window ended.
Yeah,
but he's not been there since obviously Vukovic came in, because Zach LaVine was a player that the Bulls would always rely on every game. But now they've got another All-Star in the team. Do you feel as if he's taken a step back too far? As if he can take the limelight off himself and give it to somebody else? And well, personally, that's what I think's happened anyway.
Yeah.
But do you feel that's been one of the problems for the Bulls' poor run off him?
Yeah, well, you look at any team, like, even that's what people thought would be the problem with the Nets at the start of the season. Like, when you have two All-Stars, like, these players need the ball in their hands, right? So there's only so much, like, touches of the basketball you can get in a game. So Zach LaVine's went from being the only All-Star, the main player in the team, and getting all the, like, plays ran from him every single time, to Vucevic now coming in. And, like, he's getting plays ran from. So Zach LaVine's had to take a step back, as you said. But that'll just take time to get used to. I think, like, he's obviously not, he's still so talented. You don't lose talent, but
Yeah.
it'll just take time to get used to, as you said. And obviously he's going to have to take a step back and get used to the step back he's taking, and just get used to it. That's it.
I mean, a very impressive win against the Nets the other night, but it was the same old. But not same old, but it was the same pattern for LaVine. Hit his first three with 5 minutes left. So that's not like LaVine at all, because in a game like that, you would expect him to be hitting threes just about every quarter, at least hitting double figures. Not double figures talking about threes. I'm talking about at least hitting double figures points wise. But I don't know. He seems a different player when I'm watching him now.
Yeah, well, obviously, as you said, before the trade deadline, he was averaging over 50% from the field and then over 40% from three. So that's like, the numbers are unreal. Like that's the kind of numbers all players aim for. So if you're doing that, then you're obviously in good stead. And he was an all-star this year. So yeah, just needs to pick it back up. He's talented, as you said. Just hopefully, as you said, the Vucevic trade doesn't ruin him as a player, because you want to bring talent in, but you don't want to deteriorate the talent you've already got. So that's obviously taking time and getting good coaching. I think the Bills need a new coach, if I'm honest. But that
is topic for discussion anyway. I think there is problematic areas in the Bills coaching, but let's hope it doesn't hinder the process of the Bills returning to their very best anyway. But Lakers seem to be struggling at the moment. 5-5 in the last 10. Not like the Lakers at all. They're slipping behind. Not like we expected.
Yeah, obviously with LeBron and AD out, that was to be expected. But yeah, the Lakers, the only positive I'd say, if you're a Lakers fan, you can take away from is they beat the Nets the other night, and they beat the Nets without LeBron and AD. So if LeBron and AD are coming back, and you'd expect if the Nets and the Lakers were to meet in the finals, the Lakers would beat them. And in my opinion, because they did the Nets look pretty average the other night, which is surprising, because I don't know how you can play some games and make very good teams look average, and then other times get blown out. But yeah, it's obviously worrying if you're a Lakers fan, because you don't want to drop too low in the playoff standings with LeBron and AD out, and then having to play a number 1 seed when you could have been playing a number 8 seed in the playoffs. So yeah, it's just about hopefully not losing too many games, as you said.
Yeah, Utah Jazz doing incredibly well this season. Don't think anybody expected it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Do you think would you say the confidence is in their hands at the moment? Would you say the confidence is wrapped up?
Yeah, obviously they're the best team in the NBA right now. The 3-point shooting they've got is unreal. Obviously they've got Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell's on unreal talent. But they just need to do it in the playoffs. That's the thing. Like, Utah Jazz have been very, very good in the regular season for the last few seasons. This year, obviously, they've been better than good. They've been unreal. But it's just about playoff time. Like, honestly, like with the NBA, like 8 seeds can beat the first seed in the playoffs, and then your whole regular season where you've just been playing so well just went to waste. So it's all about winning the playoffs and winning it all. You need to, obviously winning regular season games is good, but if you're not winning the playoffs, it doesn't mean anything. So hopefully they turn up in playoffs time and it's good. But obviously last night Jamal Murray got injured from the Denver Nuggets, which was bad for them because they were making a good run in the West as well. So obviously that's good for the Utah Jazz. But yeah.
Hello, MANSCAPED. Hello, MANSCAPED. Did you see there's a code you can use for 20% off? BSR Sports 20, link in bio. Perfect. Guys, if you don't use it, you're daft. You're very, very daft.
100%.
So
need to get your hands on this.
You really do. It's honestly,
thank you.
Like, the leading market in men's grooming. Like, you can't go wrong with something.
If you're
like
not
this.
leaving yourself happy, you're not leaving the ladies happy. That's
5-star reviews. Go for it. You won't be disappointed.
You must get this package alone just for the newspaper. Like, the newspaper just
for the newspaper alone.
It's going up on my wall.
It does mean no mess. Like, I don't think they've missed out anything. No mess, no noise, in the dark. Good smell, good tone, grip, size. Oh my. Boxers t-shirt.
Can it go wrong?
If
I'm
this is not the full package, what
I
is?
might leave the
And
podcast and just go use this.
if you want £20 off, 20%, £20 off. Link is in the bio. It's just very daft if you didn't do it. If you're not going to do it.
Yeah, Conor, as you said, the regular season form that can be as good as you like, but it's not going to make a difference if you come into the playoffs and you're not firing all guns blazing, because we've seen it with the Bucks in recent years. You can do as well as you want, but if you go into the playoffs and you're not in the same form, it's not going to work for you. It will count for nothing. End of the day, won't it?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that example up because I actually forgot about them. The Bucks for years now have been so good in the regular season. Obviously they topped East a few years in a row and never ever made a playoff run. They'd go out either second round or the finals, Eastern Conference finals, but they never actually made a run at it. So it's just about obviously taking your regular season form and then making a good run in the playoffs and actually taking it into the playoffs, because playoffs is different. You get players who perform better in the playoffs than they do in the regular season. Like Rajon Rondo, he's known as playoff Rondo because how well he plays in the playoffs compared to his regular season play. So you just get players who just turn up in the playoffs and clutch time are just so much better. But it's about the Utah Jazz just being clutch and being better in the playoffs.
Personally, I would say Giannis. I know he's an MVP, but I think he's a regular season player. Don't think he's a playoff player, because there was far too many times where obviously he's the main guy for the Bucks. They were relying on him, and he just wasn't able to make the cut. And that's the difference between the best teams and the worst teams. And we've seen it with the Heat last season. The regular season they weren't the best, but there was players who were willing to step up to the plate and make the cut when relied on. And even the rookies were doing it last year. Tyler Hero, look at him with the 3-pointers, hitting them for fun, hitting the buzzer beaters and everything in the playoffs. And that is the difference between the good players who can keep the form and the best players in the game, to be honest with you, isn't it?
Yeah, like as you said, like even Tyler Hero last year, like was doing so well in the playoffs and the bubble, and then this year people have actually said, "Oh no, you're not as good. That you've been a disappointment." But I don't even think it is that. I think like some people just thrive in the playoffs and they play so much better. And obviously, you don't like have to deteriorate their regular season play just because, like obviously, some nights teams aren't always going to try as hard as they would in a game 7 against other teams. So regular season, I don't know. I think the main aim of the regular season is just get in the playoffs and then make a good playoff run. That should be everyone's aim. So that's why the Lakers aren't that bothered now. They're not doing as well, because obviously as long as they're in the playoffs, LeBron and AD, they can beat Andy on their day. So that's why the Lakers aren't that bothered now that they're injured, because they're in a good spot already.
Yeah. Look, you'll be sick of talking about hearing about the NBA. So we'll let you tell us about what's been going on with the NFL, because we are currently in the off season, aren't we?
Yep. Yes. Well, I'll start with some sad news today that Julian Edelman's retiring for the Patriots. I think 3 Super Bowls.
Is he chose to retire then? Yeah.
Well, that's what we're saying. You were sort of saying, do you think it's retirement or sort of like mutual consent or maybe forced out? But I think it is. I watched a video that him and the Patriots released, and he was sort of saying that it's because of injury and another. I think the way he phrased it was he'd always said that he was going to go until the wheels fall off, and he said the wheels are finally falling off. So just injury, and I think he's in early 30s, so I think that's an age you'd expect to retire in the NFL for a receiver. So it's sad, and I think Patriots will be sad to see him go. That's him, Gronk, and Brady. None of them are playing with the Patriots now. Some of the first players you think about when you think of the Patriots. The success that they've had, and Edelman was huge. I can't remember when he was drafted. I don't think it was before the 3rd round, and he's been instrumental in some of those Super Bowl rings that he's won. Not always putting up amazing stats throughout the regular season. I think he's got like 5,000 or 6,000 yards total in his whole career, but just always coming in clutch in the big games and the big moments, and yeah, he'll definitely be missed by them.
Yep. Talk to us about the ins and outs of the NFL then. Anything interesting been going on this week?
Yeah. There's Sam Darnold. He got traded from the Jets to the Carolina Panthers the other day, and
Mhm.
so I think the Jets have the second overall pick this year in the draft, and this is a draft with a lot of quarterback talent, and I think a lot of the teams that are maybe. I think Darnold's unlucky. I think if there wasn't so many players coming through out of college right now at that position, I think he would have got another year to prove himself with the Jets. But I think this is a good move for him. The Panthers, I think they need a quarterback. They tried Teddy Bridgewater the last season, and I don't think he quite lived up to their expectations. So they've got Sam Darnold in, promising young quarterback. The league had high hopes for him when he was drafted a few years ago. So it's going to be interesting to see, because I think the Panthers have the 8th overall pick this year, and we've seen a lot of trades already happen. We've seen the San Francisco 49ers trade up from, I think, the 12th spot to the 3rd spot. I think they had to get rid of like 3 first-round picks this year, next year, and the year after, just to go from 12th to 3rd. And that's going to be them drafting a quarterback there, definitely. So it's going to be really interesting to see, because the Panthers now have their quarterback, if a team like maybe my Washington want to get involved and trade up to that 8th overall pick, because they could potentially get their hands on a good quarterback with that pick, but they're obviously not going to need to do it now that they have Darnold. So it's going to be interesting, yeah.
Yep, definitely. Anything else before we round off?
Yeah, well, there's been a few. I think we spoke a few weeks ago. Obviously, I just want to give a mention to the Bucks again, just because I think this is the first time that the all the 11 starting players on the field for a Super Bowl.
Milwaukee or the Buccaneers?
The Buccaneers. I'm not going to dive into that. Don't worry. I think this is the first time that they've signed all their starters from a Super Bowl winning team, and it's just huge. I think the only player left is Antonio Brown, that needs to sign a contract, and there's some rumours that he might be wanting to go to a different team and get a bit of a better payday. But yeah, I think that the Bucks have looked good. Obviously, I spoke about my Washington. They've signed a couple of good players: Curtis Samuel, William Jackson III, Ryan Fitzpatrick. So there's a lot of interesting free agency signing. I think the New England Patriots are another one. They've signed a lot of players, brought back Cam Newton, and made a lot of use of the cap space that they had. So it's just going to be interesting to see going into the draft who gets picked where, especially the quarterbacks. This is a year where maybe 5 or 6 quarterbacks going to go in the first round, which I can't remember happening before. So it's going to be really interesting. I think it's 2 weeks away now, so I'm buzzing for it.
Yeah, it's going to be a case of a big turnaround for the Patriots anyway, as we spoke about earlier. Yeah. End of an era. Obviously Gronk's away, Brady's away, and then Edelman is just retired. So it's always good to look back on the success that they did have. How many Super Bowls?
4. I think with Belichick, 3 or 4, something like that.
I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I think years wise, wouldn't be able to tell you, but I know it's definitely a decent number anyway, and it just shows you the transition. We've obviously getting football, we've got Messi and Ronaldo starting to retire, we've got Mbappe, Haaland coming through, and it's a similar case in NFL, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, what you're saying with the Patriots, I'm going to be interested to see how they do this year. They've obviously still got Belichick there as the head coach, and Cam Newton's re-signed, I think, just a year deal or maybe 2 years, and it's going to be really interesting for, again, in the draft, to see if they do go for a quarterback or not. I'm hoping they don't. I hope they give Cam Newton a chance, because Cam Newton's one of those players that when he's playing at his best, he's one of the most entertaining players in the league to see. So I really hope he can get back to his form. Didn't see it in the first year because of injury, because of COVID-19, lots of different things. So I think the fact that Belichick's wanted him to stay around for another year tells us that he sees something in Cam. And I think it's for me right now, it's a coin toss for the Patriots. I don't know if they're going to have a good season or not, but I think they still got 7 wins last year, and that was with Cam Newton not playing nearly the best football that he can play, not really able to throw the ball at times. So if he can go up from that and they can draft well, they've made some good signings in in the off season. They've improved their offensive line as well. I think I could see them improving greatly and maybe going on to 10 or 11 wins. It's a 17 game season now as well. Should talk about that. It's gone from 16 to 17 regular season games. So the Patriots are one definitely to watch out for. They're a hit or a miss, but very excited to see how they're going to do with Belichick and if Cam Newton's going to be able to sort of live up to the expectation that comes with him.
Yep. Thank you very much, Luke. Boys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us. Any topic for discussion, leave down below. It was a very interesting one today, wasn't it? Is McGregor a liar? It's up to you to decide. Please subscribe, please like, and let us know down below if you get any suggestions for the next World Sports video. But until then, we'll see you next week, and it's a goodbye from me.
Cheers, guys.
See you later.